go live. And that should kick us over to Instagram. Come on. There we go. All right, we are live. We'll see who we get. I had a couple people message and go, "Is Yoshi tonight? What time?"
I'm so happy people remember me.
Oh, I love the fact that you very much seem to be missed, because I didn't get to meet you while you were here, but I had heard your name a couple of times, and I'm like, all right, cool, check this person out. And then you're like, yeah, I'm not there, but we can do something. I was like, sweet, let's do it.
Yeah, I think in my experience, the drift community has like a 70% turnover, maybe 80% year over year. You see like fresh faces. And so I figure most of them cycle out, and maybe like a handful of people would remember me, but apparently I've had some staying power.
Hi, Cody. Cody said the man, the myth, the legend.
Of course, Cody's been one of my biggest fans. Anytime I have a project or something, he's helping me push it. I love Cody.
Cody's awesome. He's very much heavy into supporting everybody in the drift community, and I'm here for it. Although
I love the positivity.
We're not gonna like boo crew it this next time. He's gonna drive the next time. All right. So for anybody who's watching that doesn't know who you are and the reason that I'm talking to you today, why don't you let everybody know?
See, I thought about this one, and I have no idea how to describe myself.
All right. So I put your promo card together as you used to do FD crew at one point in time. You were heavy into supporting Drift Nirvana at Summit Point at one point in time. You now live in Japan because of work. So here we are.
Yeah. I guess I can give backstory. So
that's always the best place to start.
So my buddy Mike Suddeth and Clayton Ritchie, like we were in college, and it was like a 1985 E30. Like it was the ETA model. It had like 100 horsepower on a good day. And they were really big into like backroading and stuff like that. And they made me, I hated cars. I actually would have nightmares where I would crash my car. Like I learned stick not because I wanted to, but like the story goes, like my father bought this car off of his friend, and this friend owed him $5 or a case of beer. So my dad gave him $5. So the joke was, you put a 6-pack in the back of my car and it doubled the value. But I had to fix it up. I had to work on it. I had to drive it to school. And they were like, hey, let's go backroading. And I'm like, what's that? And I rolled it, like pitched sideways, went over a jump, dug in, and like I actually blacked out for a portion of it.
Okay.
And then I picked up a Nissan Sentra, which eventually ate its own engine on the highway, 95. And they were like, oh, that's a shame. Your BMW would have been good for drifting. And, I went, Tokyo Drift, well, it's drifting. And they showed me the option videos and stuff. And so I picked another E30 up, and we started doing, it was called Lookout at the time. I mean, I think there's still Lookout, the US Drift, but they got put under the NASA banner. It's a whole thing. But I would do Cloverleaf Mall, which I believe they finally tore it down, but it was like 2003, I think was my first event. And they would do Old Dominion Speedway in Manassas. And that happened like once a year. And Manassas was close to my house, like 45 minutes away. And so I approached him and I was like, hey, since you guys don't do it all the time, would you mind if I also rented from it and ran my own series and made sure to, not double up with you? And they're like, yeah, sure, cool, whatever. Brian's an awesome guy. And so we did Old Dominion Speedway for, I think, 3 or 4 years. I was actually organically going to stop doing it because I realized the insurance that came with renting the track did not cover me.
Okay.
And so if anything were to actually happen, they couldn't sue Old Dominion, but they could sue me. And so I was like, let's kind of not do that. And then they got sold to like developers, because like if you look at some of the pictures, we did their parking lot once, and you see like houses, 2 or 3 trees and then a house. And so of course they complained. And it's the whole thing of like, racetrack exists, people move in, complain, and then racetrack shut down. So I feel like we had a legislative change on that recently, where there's like this like
grandfathered kind of situation now? I have to look into that because I don't remember.
I mean, probably, but I don't believe that they'd stop pressuring him because people just complain left.
Sure.
Drifting's a little bit loud, I suppose.
It's all loud. I mean, I think that's my problem with it is it's like it's all loud, and it's okay that it's all loud because you weren't there first. The track was there first.
Yeah. So it was, that part was rough. So as I was shutting down and as Old Dominion was getting sold to developers, there was a guy at Summit, Friday at the Track instructor. His name was Alex Sufi. And he came to one of my events. It's like, hey, this is really cool. I work for a local track. Why don't we set up some drifting there? So he went and talked with Jens Scott, and that's where that whole Drift Nirvana thing got started. So when my thing kind of naturally ended, Summit kind of started, and so I just kind of rolled in, and like, hesitate to say I ran it because it was more like an advisory role, and even now it's still kind of like there's the Drift Advisor group that also kind of basically works for free track time, and then there's the track. And so the Jens Scott years was like, I mean, Wild West, where I think there was like there's energy drink sponsorships, there were Umbrella Girls, and like a bunch of other stuff like that. And it's like that's where I was with that. And then I got hooked up with a buddy of mine, Casey Norton, and he was like, hey, Dan Savage is making a run for FD. We're looking for crew. And I was like, cool. So I did that rigmarole where we flew around for, I think it was 2 years, and I changed tires and like, you know, went to all the tracks. I think like Palm Beach was one of the last ones. One of the last time they did Palm Beach was one of the ones I went to. And then that kind of ended. And then I went back to doing the Drift Nirvana thing. And then I picked up this job in Japan. And my first year here, I actually bought my JZX from Robbie Nishida. And like, as he's driving off the car, he's like, hey, you know, you want to help out? And I was like, sure. So instead of being on the team, I was actually kind of like backstage where I was just kind of helping set up cones and run stuff around and things like that. And then that kind of like, the problem with that was it took so much time out of my day job that like I wanted to keep doing it and I kind of wanted to keep going with it. But like FD Japan is kind of a different beast than FD US. They do everything within the day. So like when you finish an FD event, it is broken down in the trailers and driving back to HQ in Tokyo like that night, no matter where you are. So like we were in Suzuka Twin, which was like it's like a 12-14 hour drive, and they would pack up and they would drive the 12-14 hours back that night back to Tokyo, like done. And for me, like I've got work, I've got kids, like that is actually pretty brutal. So I kind of like organically walked away from that. And then now I'm here for, I think there's contract terms and stuff. So I'll be here for a couple more years and then kind of head back to the DC area there.
Okay. Cody said that you were on a broadcast once for FDJ.
Yeah. So the original plan was the other announcer, oh man, why do I forget his name? I see his face.
Fired.
Kenny. So he's also military and had like they're on a rotation. So I think he got 4 years or something like that, and you're forced to rotate. You have to leave. So kind of same thing with me, but I'm not a soldier. And so they're like, well, he's leaving. Why don't you roll into his spot? So, you know, I did a couple of things here and there. I helped out with, I was on one of the streams or something. I don't remember. But then like Robbie Nishida's actually formally stepped away from FDJ. Like he's not on bad terms, but he helps them out, but he's not doing the English broadcast anymore. So then they wound up tapping some other guys for it too. And so they're doing that now. I haven't actually talked with them much, so I don't know much about that. But yeah, I was originally supposed to be the backup announcer. And then I just kind of was like, that's too much, especially because they wound up being during the week, during my work week, and it would kill all my paid time off, you know?
Sure. So if you had to compare the differences between FD stateside and then FD in Japan, what would be like the biggest things?
Man. Judging in FD Japan is very old school.
Okay. Can you elaborate on what that means?
Yeah, they have a very large overemphasis on speed.
Okay.
And kind of like an Asian parent, they're very much more harsh on deductions.
Okay.
The course layouts, I mean, I was never part of the FD track scene, but for the course layouts, they overemphasize kind of safety over the show. So Suzuka Twin, for instance, the back straight that goes in front of the judges, Robbie always wanted to put a switchback on that one. But they didn't want to because there was like a pond or something and the car could go into it, I believe, or something like that. Same thing with Ebisu. You come down the straightaway and it's a harsh right-hander. The problem is the muddy hill above it is known to roll cars. And so the ideal line is actually farther down, but they would cut it in and make it actually harder for the drivers to complete the course in the name of safety. Which is kind of different than what you would think of Japan. Also, a very large difference is that Japanese cars are not built to the US FD spec.
Okay.
They are like the full crash support is still there. They don't cut out the rear ends. Carbon Kevlar is not a thing. I did tech inspection for FDJ2, and one of the guys for the JZX actually had his spacers upside down, like for his subframe mounts.
Okay.
Where it was actually effectively, lowering his subframe, not raising it, making geometry worse, but also is in such a way that if he was on course, the subframe would have fallen out of the car.
Okay.
And so like those types of things, like they're very traditional. In Japan, they do not want to change. This is the way things were done. I talked with, it was a WiseFab representative, and he was like, Japanese people will not change the way they build cars until someone wins with that change. So quick changes until about 5 years ago were not a thing. And then someone won with a quick change. And then everybody in the field.
For people who don't know what that is, what is a quick change?
So I have so many memories of burning my fingers taking out the gears. It's a really big, heavy differential, but you can pop off a couple of bolts, pull the cover off, quickly change out your final drive gearing, and then bolt it back on, fill it with just a little bit of fluid, and send it on its way. So for certain tracks, like that was one of the things I did for the FD US team was running logistics on, all right, this track, this is the gearing we want, this final drive, like with these particular power levels and like with your transmission ratios this way, for like, I think it was Seattle, for instance, you wanted a slightly longer gear because the big bank had carried more speed versus like a more technical course. Not blanking on it. Long Beach, I think, had a slightly shorter gear ratio because you need to keep it more in the power band. And the Japanese way of doing things was like everybody has the JZ diff. I forget what it's, R200, something like that. And they would have 4 or 5 of them. And so instead of quickly changing out the gear ratios, they would just have a couple of the factory style gear sets and they would just kind of swap in whatever they wanted to. The difference with the quick change is you can get down to like a 3 mile an hour difference between gear changes versus like, I think the JZ diffs, it's like 3.9 to 410. What happens if you want that 4?
Okay.
Sorry, I can get really technical.
That's okay. So with your experience in being both spaces, what do you miss about driving in the US since you've been driving in Japan for 4 years now? Now, do you drift in Japan?
I do, not as much as I probably should. The JZX, when I first got it, was automatic, so I had to convert it, then stuff broke, and then I hit a wall with it, and that whole thing.
Sure.
And then
stuff.
I do miss having a track an hour from my house.
Okay.
Every track, the closest one to me is Fuji Speedway, which is basically a smaller Washington circuit.
Okay.
Like, I'm not the best driver in the world, but an open pad is a little bit boring. So
Sure.
I want to go to a couple of this.
When it's your every track time, I could see that for sure.
Yeah, well, it's the most convenient. So for like a test and tune or something. But I went to a Nico circuit, and I've been to Sportsland Yamanashi. So Yamanashi is like hands down my favorite track in the entire world. But it was a 4-hour drive away from me, so that was kind of big. So logistics wise, like, I'm not allowed to have a truck and trailer in Japan. So
interesting. Okay.
I gotta drive what I got, and then if I wreck, like, Ebisu's 6-7 hours away, so like I'm apprehensive to go because if I break anything, I mean, granted, Power Vehicles is there, but then it's like, well, now I gotta fix it and all that other crap, and then the Band-Aid fix has to make it home and all that other sorts of stuff. But
interesting. We're going to revisit that in a second, but the comments on Instagram, Juliana says, Yoshi knows this. My drifting would not be where it's at today if this man didn't make the Summit Point sim map for Assetto. And she said, also, Chris and I miss you. And Cody said, we are having it remade right now.
Yep. Yeah. So I met Chris. He had like an RB S13, I think. And I think he worked at Siki after I did the FD tour. But yeah, I did. I'm a super nerd. So I did the U.S. Geological Survey puts out LiDAR scan data, which is like satellite LiDAR scan, like beams and stuff. And so I took that and made that as a basis for the Assetto track for Summit. The problem is that, like, if a tree gets in the way or there's a bird in the middle of it, like, it gives you all this mush in between the data. But like, I'm a nerd. I'm not really an artist. So the Assetto Summit track is like geometrically accurate, down to like some of the potholes and pits on Washington Circuit it managed to pick up. And I'm not really the most aesthetic person, so I worked with a couple of road racers to put in some of their site markers, like telephone poles, like the heights and stuff like that. So it's not the prettiest looking track, but it is the most accurate. Cody and I were talking the other day about, like, when you're playing in game, it seems too narrow, but it's like you overlay the data onto it and you're like, no, that's literally in real life how wide the track is. Something about the game just makes it appear not as wide. And so, yeah, Juliana, I helped her kind of set up some of the like computery type stuff and, squared her away with that. But I didn't really help her with anything. It was just, here you go. And she's kind of flown ever since. So it's really cool to see the sim stuff echo back to real life. It used to be a real big push of like, sim doesn't translate. But like one of my buddies, David Bellamo, he's like a dark gray S14. Yeah, he is a machine. And so I played Assetto with him, tandeming for a couple of months, and then we did Jefferson expansion with it. And like, sim to real life, his driving and his car placement is so similar that the first time out of the gate, I was able to like accurately predict where he was going to go, and it felt like exactly the way we did it in the game. It also helps that David is an absolute robot.
That's fair. That's fair. He's very dialed in, him and his car.
Every time he plays the exact same way, he's a machine.
Well, one of my favorites with him, and I think it's the favorite thing I've shot of him, was he got bored on Shenandoah, took the lower end of carousel, and launched it, and you just see him, and then he just kept going. Didn't phase him, just kept going. It was great. Juliana said, but the cats are on the map are cute.
Yeah. Yeah. So Summit has track cats, and I think it's 7. There are 7 cats hidden throughout the track.
Okay.
And each time I release a new version of the track, I re-hide the cats in different places. Just like a fun, you got to drive around and find the Easter eggs. And then tombstones. Any place I've wrecked is a tombstone on the track. There's a couple.
That's great. Cody said Patrick White's face on the porta potty on Washington is my favorite. Juliana says it's terrifying.
Patrick came by because I think he broke his hand and the cast was annoying him. So I 3D scanned his cast and then 3D printed him a new one. It was actually like heat color changing. So like the more he sweated, it turned from like purple to pink or something. But while I was at it, I scanned his face just for giggles. And I'm like, what am I going to do with this? And I just slapped it on the porta potty.
It's the small pleasures in life, truly. I have only tried the sim once, and it was at a Grid Life event. And I've had this conversation with a couple of people. I don't understand the appeal because I think I expected it to be really, really challenging. And maybe it's because I don't drive and I don't have the buddy system to be doing like anything like major online. But I expected to be really challenged by it. And I'm like, this is it? This is what everybody's excited about? Okay. And then like, that was the extent of it. Now, the one I did was probably dialed in to be easy because it was at an event, maybe. I don't know. But I always ask everybody what the appeal is because I don't understand it.
Oh, no, I thought the same way.
Okay.
But before Sims were a thing, I had a Logitech steering wheel and I would do it on PlayStation for like Gran Turismo. And then their drift mode was terrible.
Okay.
I couldn't do it. It was actually Patrick who was big into Assetto at the time. He's like, oh, you got a wheel. You should play with me. And so we did the Spirit track over and over again. And I think I was playing with him for like a full month, like hitting every single wall and just being pissed and like, why am I doing this? I mean, I just enjoyed kind of, playing with Patrick. And eventually it clicked. I think some of it is set up. When you're playing something at like an exposition, the screen's steering like really far away. And like you said, the settings are dialed in. So it's, you want to feel like a hero, so they make it too easy. I eventually got, I think it was a triple screen setup and moved to VR. And it was, you can modify the car and see the changes. I was talking earlier about like gear ratios and stuff. So like I had never driven Nico before. And so I made my version, actually had a buddy of mine, Minnie, make the car for me. And gear ratios, everything, all sorts of stuff. And I just did lap after lap after lap. And so when I showed up to Nico at the time, I was already warm. The corners felt exactly the same way. It looks a little bit different, but all the corners and the shift points and everything were exactly the same. So like I would say just from a like I'm going to a track I've never been to before, or just warming up before going to a track you know of. And then also, like I said with David, like I did a bunch of time with him, and so I learned his driving style by driving with him.
Okay.
Also, like learning how to do like 360s or something like that. You wreck in real life, that's pretty expensive, but I mean, learn how to do backies on a sim. And just the social aspect. You get on a Discord with a bunch of people and chat and have a good time while hitting each other off the road.
Okay. Apparently, I just need a different experience. Like I need to experience it again, but from a different space. It sounds like.
Yeah, I think just to have fun with other people, like the social aspect of it, especially outside of events. And then you see them at the event and you're both driving. So like that's like a whole connection you can have between events. Keeps you sharp.
Right. That's fair. Cody says he's like, I gotta say learning with the boys has taught me a lot. Yeah. I mean, again, I can see the value in it. And again, I think because I'm not drifting specifically, like I'm not out on the track, like it's a little bit different because I'm not trying to learn a track that I've never been on, or I'm not trying to learn how to like utilize it. It literally just felt like a typical car video game to me, I think is what it was. And I think I expected more because everybody always seems so excited about it.
Yeah, I think once you get a taste for it, it takes off really quickly. It's getting that first initial bit where it clicks. Because like, for instance, the Logitech wheels are terrible. And they actually, out of the box, cannot spin fast enough for the counter steer in the drift cars. And so a lot of people give up and they say it's crap. It's not like real life because the wheel just physically can't keep up with it.
Interesting. Okay. Noted. We were talking before we hopped on about left-hand drive versus left-hand drive versus right-hand drive. And I was asking you, like, if it's tough because you do still have to travel stateside from time to time. Do you have a hard time making that shift?
Yeah, I mean, I think the physical space of the car, like you're sitting on the right-hand side, where's my left wheel and vice versa. Like, I never really had issues with that either direction. It's really turn signals and windshield wipers. Like I would get off a plane in Hawaii and I would hop into the rental car and I would go to turn and just. Other than that, as long as there's other cars on the road, like I'm fine. If there's no one else on the road, I'll get on the wrong side, and that takes like maybe a day, and then up to a week later, every now and then you'll do the turn signals instead of the windshield wipers. But otherwise, it's not that much of an issue.
I find I do that. I drive in automatic on a regular basis. I switched over from automatic to manual years ago as like my daily drivers were usually automatic. But I do occasionally have vehicles I have to drive that are stick shift. And you go to reach for where the automatic normally is, and that's not where the stick shift is. Or you've been in the stick shift for like a week. And then you go back in the automatic. You're like, wait, what am I, because you're grabbing for the thing that you want to have your hand on. So I get that. Juliana says
the brake instead of the clutch.
Yeah. My other favorite is when you're in the old school manual, like a 1990 something, and you have to remember to put the floor brake on, and then you go to drive, and you're like, "Oh, I forgot to take the fucking floor brake off," and then you're pulling on a lever. Juliana said it definitely helps trying new or crazy stuff with no consequences. Mm-hmm. And Cody says, go to auto and try to push a clutch in. Yep. Been there a ton, trust me.
And I've been fortunate enough to, like, with the whole running drift events, people will just let me drive their cars. It's weird. I've actually crashed people's cars. But so I've drifted lots of different, like, S13s, S14s. There was like I told you, I rode shotgun with that Tesla.
We need to talk about the whole Tesla thing because I've seen the Teslas run on track. So we'll talk about that in a minute.
Okay. And then in Japan, rental cars. I've bought and sold a couple of just regular daily driver cars here as well. It was a diesel with an automatic cutoff K truck, manual 6-speed.
I love K trucks. They're so cute.
I hate them so much.
I believe it.
So for my daughter's school, they do it's called somen nagashi somen, where it's like you split the bamboo in half and the noodles go like down the water and you pick it up with your chopstick. It's a whole thing.
Okay.
But I was tasked with helping cut down all the bamboo and hauling it back, and they're like, "Oh, okay. You drive stick, right?" And I was like, "Yes." And they go, "All right, here you go. You're driving this diesel K truck." And so there's bamboo hanging over the front of it, and I don't know if you've been in like Japanese city streets, but like it's you would think that in America it would be one lane, and in Japan it's both ways, and pedestrians and cyclists are on either side.
Okay.
That's how narrow this is. And so I think I actually hit the front of the school with the bamboo because it was hanging so far out in front of it. And it was, you're sitting on top of the steering wheel driving it like this. And I mean, it wasn't, I'm 6 foot, one, something like that. And I don't fit. I don't fit at all. Understood. Cody said, last Yoshi crash I remember is Jefferson Hill. Yeah. So my hand got jammed underneath the steering wheel. It's like between my steering wheel and my leg on entry. And so like
how'd you manage that?
I don't know how I managed it. I honestly don't know because it never happened before.
Okay.
And I clocked my fastest entry of the day in there at 96 miles an hour. So I was hooking. And so it's like handbrake while trying to countersteer into it. And my hand got stuck, and so the car just went straight up the hill and like right at a bunch of spectators. So sorry, Jed. Like I saw it, like I locked eyes with them as my car was going.
Understandable. Well, and Jefferson's an interesting one too, because I feel like most people have a tendency to get fairly comfortable with like Shenandoah Bridge. Like they'll figure carousel out. They're afraid of it at first, but they're usually willing to try that first before they're willing to try Jefferson. And then when they try Jefferson, they eat a lot of grass, because when you go up and you hit that one turn, it's literally like a blind turn when you hit up and you go to take it. And if somebody else is wiped out before you get there, you potentially come right up on them. Or most people have a tendency to grab the grass on the outside right there. But then it's like your segue from Jefferson is eventually like Maine for DOD. But some people never get there because they find Maine intimidating, especially if they don't feel like they have the horsepower for it.
Yeah, I mean that's the big difference between, I think. I mean, that's another Japanese-U.S. difference, but
okay.
For Shenandoah Carousel, because it's a blind, you go blind into the corner. You can still remember and time the entry. There's no kind of like shame in straightening up after the first corner to find your way crest over the hill and maybe like handbrake into it or manji into it. Jefferson, on the other hand, it's just enough far away that you can't quite stretch it even if you have the power.
Yeah.
And so I think people trying to make that is what causes a lot of the grass. And like to go back to the differences between Japanese and US drifting, well, first off, in Japan it's only hot lapping. Like period. Okay. There are no single runs. And so whenever you come up on a corner, everything's an entry. So they practice a lot more entries. Like most DN days, like your first second, you're right into it. Versus in Japan, where you're at the top of third and you got to go into that corner. I forgot where I was going with this. Damn it. Yeah. So the speed difference in Japanese drifting is much lower. Like I'll top out third maybe, but for Jefferson, like you have to be like absolutely hauling butt. I haven't found a track in Japan yet that like is as fast as that at all.
Okay. Now, did you drift Maine at all?
I have, and various different cars, none that had enough power. I think Maine is, there's one corner. Oh, that's what I was going to say. There's one corner that you're trying to stretch into to make it. That's the one where like there's the famous, what's his name? Australian dude, but the famous Corvette backy into the first corner in Maine.
Okay.
That first section's difficult, and then after that it tends to be more of like timing with your upshift when you come out, as long as you have enough power. Now if you're someone with like a bone stock 86 or even like a 20 valve, like you're not really making that whole thing, and that's the limit. But the difference is if you took a Japanese driver and you put them on that track without seeing anybody else, they would straighten for every straightaway, period.
Okay.
So for like Jefferson, they would do the first couple S's, they would straighten up, maybe do that one kind of bend where it goes from the old pavement to the new pavement, and then they would straight line it for the next one. Like in Japan, everybody straightens up for the straightaways and then kind of like man lines it into the first corner or the successive corner. Because most of the tracks in Japan are like 2 corners straightaway, 2 corners straightaway.
Okay.
In America, the tracks tend to flow together. The corners tend to stretch into each other with like a little bit of pain. But for the most part in Japan, like for the upper levels with people with like 500-600 horsepower cars, they'll do it, but most people will straighten.
Okay. Cody said Luke Fink.
There you go, Luke Fink.
And he said, I'm dumb because I drove Jefferson as my first track at Summit. I don't know if it's dumb, but aggressive, maybe.
Yeah, Jefferson, especially if you do full course, is the most difficult track I've ever driven.
Okay.
By a good amount, just for the speed and like if your car's not set up for it, like you're
I feel like we rarely get Jefferson as full course though. Like, now it's like we get like half course or short course. I don't think we get Jefferson as full course, but Cody could tell me that. I don't hop in passenger on Jefferson very often, and we don't get we don't get the track access I would want for Jefferson other than when they do rivals, which is really annoying because I'm like, so we can have a track access. You're just not letting us have it. Got it. Because from a media perspective, the spot where they give us, it's like you just get the same footage over and over and over again, and it's kind of boring.
That has been a contentious point with the track. Well, for the access and not doing full course very often, it's logistics. If you get 60 people that show up and the full course run is like a full minute and a half, you're not getting, like, the lines are going to be really long. So that makes sense. There also, I mean, there have been a number of deaths at the track, so they are very safety focused. So finding places that are safe for photographers and stuff to be able to get to, but also like to keep the line short, giving the access to those areas usually causes some kind of like shutdown or extra staffing. And, you know, for a regular track day, they don't actually make that much money. They make more money if they rent it to a private group versus running it themselves. And so having to run more staff cuts into the money they'd be making and potentially into the red.
Sure, that's fair. Usually for the most part, I think when we have Jefferson now, we usually have Jefferson and Washington. So it's nice when they do rivals because they break it up to where you can actually walk across to Jefferson. But they only give us that once a year. And I don't even know if we'll get that this year. I think they're getting rid of rivals this year. He says, I think we get Jefferson 2 times a year. I mean, usually whenever we have Washington, we have Jefferson, and then we have Jefferson for DOD. So 3 times a year is probably about all we get it.
Yeah, I mean, Jefferson does have one of the higher crash scorecards.
Oh, I'm sure. Yeah, I'm sure.
Washington, basically, drifters are the ones who want to use that the most, so they like having Washington. They were actually supposed to build grandstands that can see Jefferson from Washington, but I keep saying Jefferson, but I think they're in Jefferson County. The grandstands require like special permits and stuff like that, and their existing ones are grandfathered in, so they're not allowed to. They can't move them. They have to fill out like a paperwork and then has to recertify and stuff like that or something.
Got it.
I really wanted the grandstands for Jefferson because that would, like, being able to get a little bit higher so you can see down into the top of the hill would be awesome.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah, because from the spectator access point where media is the same, you can't see the other side. So there's a whole half of the track that you can't even see, and it's the part of the track you'd probably rather see.
Yeah, I think that's something both Japan and America don't do very well. Like, drifting is a spectator sport. A lot of people's reasons to drift is to be seen and like, look how cool that was. And so I think the original, when we first started doing Jefferson, before the expansion, because I'm that old, no one wanted to come because, well, you couldn't see, you know, it's all these trees and stuff. And that's part of the reason why bridge course on Shenandoah is so popular. It's not because it's an amazing course to do. It's because people can see you the most. Yeah. And so I would take the time to do all the other tracks, and then I would never get in the media. Now, to be fair, my car always looked like a pile of crap, but yeah.
I love me a good shitbox. I'm okay with it. Although I usually refer to them as party cars and not the shitbox, but you know, everything has its moment in time, right? So I always kind of I think the reason I like the drifting is because, you know, it looks like you're doing something, which is why everybody wants to watch it, is open to spectating it. Because I went to an enduro road race with Ryan Downey, and when we were all said and done, I had photos and video and stuff. I was like, you realize it's really hard to make road racing look sexy, right? And he just kind of laughed at me, but it was true. You know, there's nothing exciting happening from a spectator perspective. Now, if you were in the car, you know, your butthole might pucker while you're in the car, but nobody knows that, you know, because they're not experiencing it with you. And from the outside of the car, it's like, baby shark, do, you know what I mean? Like, that's what it looks like from the outside. So I get it. It's definitely, most of the tracks that we have drifting at, the tracks weren't built for drifting. It was built as a road course for other types of racing, which is why you don't necessarily have the spectator view always.
Yeah, well, and actually Summit was built actually for racers by racers, and it was designed to, you know, be a springboard to start you off at something basic, prior to the track, stuff like that. And then you have kind of progression of other types of series to get to the more faster cars. Like Bill Scott built it specifically for racing without other people seeing it. So to put in the grandstands and stuff, actually, I think felt kind of against what he was originally trying to do. But you also need to have spectators to help bring in some of that money.
Yeah, fair enough. Absolutely. Well, and we saw that too. And Cody said, I wish Pistol got more spectator access. There's just no way to do it. The only way to do it is where everybody parks at that like one back end corner where you come around like the big hill where the not the guard station, but where the flagger would, you know, sit in their station. There's a word and I'm not finding it.
There's actually a couple other places to shoot. They're just hard to get access to. Like there's actually a shooting range adjacent to those corners.
The problem with that though is almost every time we have that particular event, they're using it for training, and we're not allowed to be over there when they're using it for training.
Yeah, but there's also where they would do hot lapping on Shenandoah. I think they removed a bunch of trees from there, and that wouldn't be bad to get some people inside of that.
So yeah, and it's just most of the time they just don't let us. Sometimes we can go. I think it's like there's like a backside to it to an extent where like there's a like kind of like a walk around potential. But where they do the hot lap in Pistol Grip, like there's just you have the track and it's great, but there's a shit ton of trees. So like you can technically get high where the office is right there where they've got the platform, but there's so many trees. It's like you don't have like a great view, even if you have like the focal range on your lens to get there. It's still not a great view half the time because you're fighting trees to see the cars through the trees. Cody said, I go in by the cave and stand. Not sure what we're talking about, but okay.
The first couple corners on Pistol are called the Cave S's. And I didn't know this until like 10 years in. There's literally a cave underneath those S's.
So I've heard that several times, but it's not something I've ever explored.
Yeah, me either. I actually haven't. I literally have run the track on my own 2 feet and looked at every inch of the whole track and never actually found it. But it's right there, and it's like it's not really a cave. It's more like a hole in the wall. But,
sure.
Yeah, but that general area I think would be really good. It's just it costs just enough money, and it's enough of a gamble that kind of like, should they do it kind of thing, you know?
Yeah.
Now with them starting to allow drones, that, you know, makes things opened up for a lot better kind of vantage point, you know? So
yeah, sure.
I think it's really hard to get them to want to kind of like expand on the facility for drifting specific purposes. It's just, it's hard to justify it.
Yeah, no, that's fair. And I think like with Pistol Grip, when they come through, like Final Bout, I was glad I was able to shoot at Final Bout because we actually had media track access. We don't get track access for the DN events, which is kind of a bummer because being up on that hill is one of the better vantage points that you can get to, but we don't ever get it. I don't think I've ever seen it for a DN event. The only time I've seen it was for Final Bout. So I was really glad that I got to shoot that because I finally got something different. Because when you have kind of like what you said where, you know, the closest track to you is more like a skid pad, like parking lot style, it's kind of the same thing for the media. It's like when you keep going to the same space over and over again, but you only have so much access, you're constantly trying to find something you can shoot a little differently, but sometimes there's only so much you can do with whatever you have access to. But I will say with Summit Point, most of the tracks from a spectator perspective, like if somebody wanted to get into media, it's a good track to go to from a spectator perspective to be able to try to shoot media if you've never done it, because you could at least potentially get something worth looking at.
Yeah, and then there's plenty of different tracks for you to do So you still like it is America's Ebisu, where there's so many different tracks for you to shoot at. It's a very good place for people to cut teeth. Like that's where Nate Chen really started doing his photography stuff. Like they would give him days by himself where he'd be on track and could just like stop and shoot something.
Yeah. Okay. I feel like we were going to talk about the whole Tesla thing because you had mentioned Tesla and then I had mentioned my experience driving one and I wasn't a fan. But there is, when I went to MIR, there's a gentleman that shows up with a white Tesla. And I was like, I don't know how I feel about this because there was no sound. And I was very bothered by the fact that there was no sound. Now, the second time I saw him, you could hear the brakes, like you could hear the tires a little bit, but it just such an odd experience to me.
Yeah, but was his name Todd by chance?
Oh God, you would ask me. I can't remember his Instagram. Instagram is what I'm almost always going to remember. Does Tesla Todd still come to Summit? I haven't seen a Tesla at Summit.
Yeah, I think he stopped coming because I think they decided they didn't have the fire suppression for it.
That's been the newest thing that we're seeing from tracks this year. I've seen a lot of tracks put stuff out this year about the fact that they can't allow it because if it caught on fire, they're not equipped to be able to take care of putting it out, essentially.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think you can physically put it out. Like when the battery shorts, it's gone. You just have to let it become molten steel. Like there's no stopping it. But yeah, Todd was the one I rode with. I don't know if they ever actually got around to coming out with angle kits for it. His biggest problem was I think it was the all-wheel drive motors, and because if the motors are in the front wheels, like you can't give it too much angle. So his biggest issue is that like he just had to play with this very small amount of angle. But I've ridden in the FD cars and I've ridden in the Tesla, and the like push you back in your seat factor is basically the same. And because the batteries are so low in the car, I don't know how to explain how it moved, but it did not move like any other car I'd ever ridden in my entire life. It was planted in a very weird way. And it was just so monumentally fast. Like I can see how it could be very good as a drift car. And yeah, the silence, you would hear the tires initially break loose, and then it like you could have a conversation while driving. It was weird.
Yeah, it's just such an odd sensation by comparison to what you're used to, because the sound is part of the whole aesthetic of being at the track. The tires, the brakes, the engine, like all of it. And you're like, like it's just like this small itty bitty little like mosquito sound. And Cody said Tesla Todd, it was blue, he thinks. And Juliana said due to fire safety, no electric cars at Summit.
Yeah, that's probably why. And it was interesting because he was getting really good at it. There's that old adage of learn without angle, and he was getting really good. And I was looking forward to him developing the car. But I last time I checked in on him, I think he got out of drifting.
Okay. Now, did he get out of it because of the Tesla or because of something else?
You'd have to ask him. I remember he went back and forth because Tesla didn't like the fact that he was beating on the car. But that's you'd have to ask him about clarification on that.
Okay. All right. Maybe I need to track down Tesla Todd then, have a conversation. Well, because I've driven one. I had a gentleman that I worked for. He got one. He was so excited. He's like, "Don, drive it." And I'm like, "Oh, fine. Yeah, I'm always down for a new adventure." But with his, he had the whole automated system. APN Racing says, "Hi, Yoshi and Don." Hi, darling. And so I drove it, but because he had the auto assist, like the auto drive on it, there was something with the fact that the car and the way it was set up, like you really weren't supposed to hit the brake. You were supposed to let the car do the work, the braking, all of it, because of all the sensors and cameras and stuff. And I'm like, so at like 60 miles an hour, you trust this thing to make choices for you. I was like, I can't get behind that. And interestingly enough, where I live in Virginia, We actually had somebody who unfortunately was decapitated. Their entire Tesla was decapitated by a tractor trailer because the car didn't read the tractor trailer because it was up here. And before he got to it, because the auto drive was on, he was already under it. And I'm like, this is what I was talking about. Like, you know, and I was like, oh my God, you know, because now this person has lost their life, you know, because they had put so much faith into this thing. And I was like, that's exactly what I was concerned about. I mean, it was a whole ordeal because the car just didn't register it because it wasn't a brick in front of it.
Yeah, I mean that's why the brake to turn off the assist is there for. You need to still keep your eyes on the road. It's not 100%. You know?
Yep. Well, and the car will tell you to put both hands on the wheel if it can tell that you're not paying attention. It needs you to do that. Like it will basically, essentially, you get a flash, you know, to put your hands on the wheel. And I think there's a sound that happens as well too. Juliana says, I believe Tesla sent a cease and desist due to the brand look. And Cody said, that's crazy because Drift HQ just had FDF make a kit for Tesla to sell. Everything's always ever evolving.
Well, the same thing happened with Chelsea Denofa and BMW. And Michael Essa, like they would put like BMW logos on stuff, and they sent them a cease and desist of like, take our emblems off of your car, like we don't want to be associated with this. And then, of course, you know, every single freaking commercial that they put out is drifting of some kind. Like, I think they currently have, like, the Guinness Book of Records for donuts, you know? I'm like, come on. It's, like, why would you not? BMW is one of the few companies that still makes rear-wheel drive manual transmission cars. Why would you not lean into this?
Sure. Yeah, I don't know. It's definitely... The car industry as a whole is always just ever changing and ever evolving. Like it always seems like there's something new. And like when I had to replace my van because it ate a deer, and I decided to go with something that I wasn't going to have a car payment on because I'm like, I'm tired of being under the car payment situation. So I bought a 2004 Jeep for $900 off of Facebook Marketplace, knowing that I was going to have to put like money and time into this thing. And right now I don't have a Jeep because it's sitting waiting on a part because the transfer case is cracked and I have to wait for the new one. Yeah. So yeah. Well, if one more person says that to me, Yoshi, I'm coming through the computer. Yes, Cody, the van ate a deer. But I get it. What's funny is I even said very early on, I was like, I'm not going to buy a Jeep, but the deal was just too good on this stupid thing that I was just like, I'm buying the stupid Jeep. And I had this moment where I went, am I in my 20s again? Like, I feel like I slid backwards in life because I now have this 04 thing that really you take a couple bolts off, you bolt the new thing on, and then you're back on the road. And my van was really simple, which was also why I liked it, because it was something like you take a few bolts off, you put the new bolts on, like the thing that you took off is back on now. But there's a lot of cars that just aren't that simple anymore. And I like bougie technology shit. And I was just like, I'm not doing it this time. We're going to see how long it lasts, but I'm not doing it this time.
Yeah, I've been trying to keep up with the technology changes, and now it's gotten into hacker territory where like you buy an OBD2 to USB adapter, and then you purchase some software, and lo and behold, now you can, you know, do whatever you want to with the ECU. Like, you don't need to get an aftermarket ECU because the factory one can do all of those things for you.
Yeah. I mean, it's crazy to me. I think tuning is something I would love to learn at some point, or like experience it, like to really see what it looks like, just because I like technology as much as I do. But I don't think I have the math brain for that, if that makes sense, because it feels like there's math that goes into that for certain parts of getting a car dialed in and tuned.
Yeah, I mean, I think nowadays the self-tuning stuff is really good. You can give it some like targets for your spark map, and then everything else from there, it'll be like, oh, you want this for that. And you have to kind of steer it the right direction. But for the most part, like, it's almost too easy.
Okay.
Back in my day, I'm old. Like I soldered together a Mega Squirt from scratch, and then had to put on the extra dollar board for the spark stuff, and then had to load all the stuff and wire all the sensors, and like just to get a car started, the amount of math and calculations I had to do of like injector pulse time and like your fuel pump and all those types of calculations. I think it took me 3 months just to get the car started and idling. And then it died when it got out of cold start because then it was jumping too much fuel like it was cold.
Interesting. Well, and I mean, but you learned from it, right? You know what I mean? And that I think that's kind of it with like anything is like you give it a shot, you're like, fuck that, I'm never touching that ever again. Or you're like, yeah, I got that right, let's do it again, you know?
Yeah, I learned I didn't want to do it.
But you learned.
I didn't. That was the problem. I think I went up with a Mega.
No, you learned you didn't want to do it. That's what you learned.
But I did it again. I made a turbo S52. So it was like I think it was like a pure. It was an actual 3.2 liter because the factory one is like 3.149, and they just call it 3.2. And it's like I had it bored out and all sorts of stuff. I did like dual non-Vanos cams on it, like a whole whatever. And I did another Mega Squirt. I was like, oh, I'm going to skip the Mega Squirt 1 and 2, go straight to the 3. I learned enough to purchase it already soldered together. So
okay.
I learned that much. But I think I managed to get the car to make like 520 horsepower, but it would break up at like higher RPMs and stuff like that. And it was just, I to this day, I don't know what I messed up on it. I just eventually ripped it all out and I went with an RK Tunes and just put that in there. It started, it ran. I was like, whatever, good. It was worth like the $2,000 or whatever to swap over. And then after that, like even for the JZX now, people are like, oh yeah, you're gonna put in a Link ECU and blah blah blah. I'm like, nope, factory ECU. We're just gonna keep it going.
Okay,
I'm too old for that now.
We have a comment from That Green Sedan says, Yoshi is my dad. I believe he has another Tesla now that he drives. I think that's talking about Todd.
Todd, yeah. So, hey, Kenny, how's it going? Yeah,
Is that Kenny Klein?
Yeah.
Okay.
I think I'm the original drift dad out of all of us. I think I'm the one out of the group to have a kid first because I think Kenny's got a baby, right? 1-year-old?
Yeah.
Now? Yeah. So basically everybody had babies, but I'm the first one.
I have to say hi to EJ. Hi, EJ. Cody said, are you bringing the JZ back when you come home?
Absolutely. Unless I, for whatever reason, it's unrecoverable for walls or something.
Sure.
The military will ship one car back on their dime.
Okay.
And that one's going to be the real question is, do I bring back more than one?
Okay.
My wife likes Subarus, so it might be like a WRX or a Forester to come back.
Well, let's talk about that for a second, because being the fact that we have, drifting starting in Japan, and then drifting in Japan is different than drifting in stateside, but some flavor of, Japanese driving does come stateside. People have talked about the import-export of the cars from Japan to here and from here potentially to Japan. What does that look like? Because all the information I've ever gotten from anybody is that it's expensive. And I'm sure it is, but what are the logistics for something like that?
So yeah, it's.
Hi, Kylie. If you're still here, miss you. Hyperfest. Hope see you there. Okay.
It's a lot of crap, especially right now with the metal tariffs on importing them. So I've seen people wind up having with like $3,000 more just to pay tariffs. But the basic import rule is it either has to have an analogous American version of it or be over 25 years old. When I first got here, JZX 100s were probably like $12,000. I think now they're up to like the Tour Vs, like the turbo models, I think they're up to like 17, something like that now. But the export business, I think what happened was the 25-year rule hit for like S15s and stuff like that, and immediately stuff jumped. Like my Tour V would have probably been like a $3,000 to $5,000 car like a decade ago. So like driving around Japan, I do not see very many of those cars anymore. They're all like base guys. And then even then you can't find them like not already kitted out and generally beaten in on like their third engine. So they're expensive, and they're generally already heavily modified and old. So now you have to replace all those modified parts. As far as the exporting, I haven't done that personally. Like for me with the military, it's just give them a car, there you go. But my buddy Donnie in Misawa, Pinku style, he's done a lot of that. And so like the paperwork for the ports and things like that is like, it's just better to talk to someone like him and just have him do it for you. For instance, like a K truck would be, you can pick up a K truck for as little as $600. And then the export of it and paperwork before the tariffs would be another $1,500. So that's why, like, before I left, there was actually a booming industry for K trucks. $3,000 all said and done, you can have a legal 25-year-old K truck in Virginia, for instance.
Okay, I got you. Okay. So you mentioned earlier, like if you go to the track, you're driving the car to the track. Why can't you have a truck and trailer?
So many things. So I'm bound by military policy. I'm only allowed to own so many vehicles. Currently I had to fill out paperwork for my third car. So my wife has one, I have one. And then my car was in paint for like 3 months. So I picked up a, what's it called? Suzuki Solio. It's like a little, it comes in a K version, but I got like the white plate version. But it's like one of those tiny little Econo boxes. Cause like I said earlier, it's driving through the streets, especially with the JZX, like I'm surprised I haven't hit anybody yet. So I'm not allowed to own an industrial vehicle like that, I believe. But also those require different driver's licenses that my SOFA license doesn't cover. I've seen people work around that, but then like I don't have parking spots. I live on base, so there's no place for me to put a large truck. Because usually what they do is the loaders, like where it's a truck and a car hauler all in one. I have never seen someone with an actual truck and a trailer in Japan.
Okay. All right.
Hi, Kitty.
Okay. I know. I'm like, hello. Hi. You usually join me, so I don't know why you're yelling at me. Okay. He's just going to stare at me judgingly. So we're just going to work with that. We're going to add you to the Assetto map. They need a fluffy kitty now.
Yeah.
Would you like to model? All right. So no truck and trailer. So if you go to the drift track, you're driving there and then you hope you don't annihilate it so that you can drive back.
Yeah. I bring a box of suspension arms, just like stock replacements. The time I did hit a wall at Fuji, it's because I was trying to manji a straight. It was like core support, radiator, and like nothing I couldn't drive back on, but like there was a hole in the radiator and things like that. So like having to patch that up, and like for Fuji, that's an hour away, and the towing service will tow up to an hour away. So if I wreck too bad at Fuji, I can do that as long as they like push me to the front gate. But anything else, like Nico was good because there were a couple of race shops nearby. Ebisu is kind of the same thing. Of like I could probably find parts if I want to, but like when I went to Yamanashi, it's in the middle of the mountains. Like so, usually I roll with a couple of the other base guys, and there's usually someone to help. But I'm one of the only guys with the JZX, so like spare parts and stuff like that, I'd probably have to like hitch a ride and all sorts of stuff.
Sure,
it's not bad. It's just enough of a deterrent that I'm like, maybe I should make sure I have some more spare parts before I go and stuff like that.
Okay, that's fair. So I usually ask everyone when I have the opportunity, and you're not allowed to say just get a car. If you were going to give advice, to somebody who wanted to get into drifting, what would your first piece of advice be?
I think that's very dependent upon the person's situation. Like some people have more money than others. If you're money constrained, or like time constrained, I would probably say start with a sim.
That's what Cody
hard.
just said.
it's hard to justify the initial cost because, like I said, the Logitech wheels are kind of garbage. It's actually my most watched YouTube video is me showing you how to put RC car motors into the Logitech.
That's so funny.
It like quadruples the torque or something like that. But
okay,
to put the money into an actual real sim setup, like you need a PC, you need at least a belt drive wheel and stuff like that. Like you're looking at $2,000 to $3,000 into that investment, and you're not actually really drifting. But if you look at it the other way and you pick up a car, well, great. If you pick up a car for less than $3,000, it's probably gonna need money. You got to pick up a separate set of wheels, got to put tires on it, regular maintenance, and then you have to, entrance fee to the track and all sorts of stuff. Doing 1 year in a beater car will cost probably 2 to 3 times as much as just buying a sim and being on it every single night.
Okay.
So that's also if you're cost prohibited and you want to kind of get good real fast. Now, I've known plenty of people that as long as they're sideways, there's a big smile on their face. In which case, just pick up a junker and just go to the track and have fun.
Sure.
But if money is not an option, just seat time. Just doesn't matter what car, doesn't matter what track, just as much seat time as you can get.
So then let's talk about like type of car. Let's talk about tires and like what is your setup on your particular vehicle? Like what is your usual go-to? And I know like tires and pressure and grip and all that stuff depends on the track and kind of what you're running.
Yeah, I've become a big proponent of buying new tires. I used to literally dumpster dive. What was it? In Tyson's Corner, there's a Porsche dealership that would have like EQs and stuff.
Sure.
The one time I got caught, they were like, "Wait, you're taking tires, and we have to pay to get rid of them?" And I was like, "Yeah." I didn't tell them I was putting them back when I was done with them. It's a victimless crime. But yeah, it changes. In Japan, the tire of choice is obviously different because the cost for tires for the more Japanese brands are lower. Generally, I run. Actually, I think the KR20s, the Kendas are. I run kind of like the all seasons. Stateside, I actually preferred. I think a company called Triangle, which I don't know if it exists anymore. For me, it was I wasn't chasing grip. On my drift car right now, it's like I run a 19x8 in the front with like 225s. They're Michelin Sport 5s. But in the rears, I run an 18-inch 18x8, I think. And I run a 225 Kenda. And the Kendas, like the other guys that I run with, the base guys, they run like 265s on like slightly more boosted SRs. And like they have a considerable amount of grip on them, and I start mine at like 50 psi, and I start airing down throughout the day as I need to, because I've never been one for like I need super grip, I need to be super fast. With that said, I tandem with them, and I keep up, if not go faster than them, with 40 mil less sidewall. I think some of that is right foot control. And stateside, I think, the Triangles, I still, even with the LS, I had like 400 wheel torque, and I still ran like a 225, 235. Just because I prefer longevity. The Triangles, I could do, I think on the LS car, I did 24 laps of Shenandoah, and on Washington, I did 42 on a set of Triangles. And that's full, like flooring it and everything, LS torque, all that stuff. So they did not make smoke.
Darn it. So let's talk about that then, like the track difference, because I can't imagine that the US track is similar or the same as Japanese tracks. Is it, different pavement, different asphalt, different setup? Are they actually similar?
Well, I mean, even at Summit Point, the old Jefferson is like a cheese grater. Washington is like glass. Shenandoah is kind of a mix between the two, but even if you pay attention to the corkscrew on Shenandoah, it has 4 different surface changes, depending
That's
upon
fair.
what line you take.
Sure.
The Japanese track for Fuji is okay. It probably was better with tires a long time ago. I wouldn't call it a cheese grater, but it's also hard to kind of tell you because the Japanese way of doing things is hot lapping.
Okay.
So like, I did 40 laps on Washington, great, but that's, do the course, cool down, do the course, cool down, versus Fuji, where I actually have overheating problems because I'm just going so hard for so long. And it's
Sure.
probably helping my tire consumption because I let them cool down between runs. Same thing with Nico, like you are drifting the last 3 corners, straighten up for the straightaway, and then there's 2 to 3 corners depending upon how good you are, and then there's like a whole back stretch where you're cooling down before coming back. And so
Okay.
like the surface itself for Nico was actually much more slick than I thought it would be, but my tires lasted longer on that one because I would have so much cool down between laps.
Cody said, and does that add or take away from tire wear if it's polished?
I think the slicker the track, the nicer it is on tires, generally speaking. But there are certain ones where, like, I did one where it was like a kind of polished concrete where it was, no, that was really grippy. Yeah, I think generally the slipperier it is, the less tire consumption.
I mean, I could see that. I know that like one of our grassroots checks, Shenandoah, not the Shenandoah at Summit Point, but Shenandoah Speedway, because they're using an oval track and that pavement needs a little bit of, refresh and love, a little bit of renovation.
Yeah.
People
It's a
will go
cheese
through
grater.
tires. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah, like 2 laps and new tires.
Yeah. So I've definitely seen it I've been to a lot of tracks in the past 2 years, and I didn't really realize that until I was talking to somebody the other day. So whether it's a skid pad, whether it's an actual like road course type of track, whether it's an oval, I've seen a lot of different ones. And like everything has just like that little bit of a difference of a nuance. That's why I was curious if, stateside versus Japan side, if, there was that much of a difference in what we would see here. Is it that different there?
I think for the most part, it's the same.
Okay.
The difference is the Japanese style tracks tend to be smaller, and
Okay.
with the hot lapping and not drifting 100% of the track. Because like, in Shenandoah, if you do the little hot lap course, like your tires will last like 3, maybe 5 minutes at best. And then also on top of that with banked ovals. So I generally feel like tires wear faster on banked ovals.
That's fair. I've seen that.
It's also the weirdest feeling to be physically pushed down into your seat as you're drifting sideways. It is like, I miss that so much. Shenandoah has a decent amount of bank to it, but ODS on one side, like you almost could not stand on the bank because it was that like at steep of an angle.
Okay. I could see that. I've seen banks at a couple of the different tracks that I've been at. And I remember there was one event that I went to, and one of my friends like, this is my first time with any banks. It feels really weird. And I'm like, I never really thought about it because I'm a passenger very often. So it always feels different depending on who's driving, not even just the track, but depending on who's driving. Because some people have smooth transitions and some people are fighting their cart so hard that you're like this, and then your head's in a cage bar, or, whatever it is. So even just the way somebody drives affects so much about what the passenger experience feels like as well too. So I could see it though.
Oh, I will puke in some cars, but so David Bellamo back in the day, he had an S12, like a 200 SX, okay. And I think at the time it was a single cam K that he had swapped into it, and he would do the bank. So again, the car weighed probably like 2,800 pounds. It had like 100 horsepower to the crank truck motor inside of it, and he would ride the whole bank the whole way around. And like, if you were doing less than about 70 miles an hour on entry into that bank, you would get sucked down into the bottom. And he would keep it basically all the way on top the entire way around. And he threw me the keys. He's like, go for it. His gas pedal had like that much travel. It was an on-off switch. That was his gas pedal. I could not get that car to even hold a slide on the infield. I have no idea how he ever managed that.
APN Racing said, good times at ODS. Got my first trophy drifting when I first started. Need a reunion at the IHOP when you get back, bro.
Yeah. We would do, like, I didn't make any money off of ODS. And if money went, if there was surplus money from the events, I would put it into paying for trophies for the competitions and stuff. We also had a tool rental program. So like back in the day, you know, we were all like, this was the forum days where we didn't have angle kits. Even cut knuckles were kind of like, oh wow, he's gonna. But if you had an SR in your car, like you were top dog. You know that's the level this was. So I got like an engine hoist, and we paid for engine stands and stuff like that. And so you would bring like your Xbox as collateral, and you would rent whatever tools and stuff. And then I would you know, after the events, we would do the local IHOP down in Manassas every single time. So you'll see on the internet, there's some pictures.
Oh, I know that IHOP. I lived out that way for a long time. Yep.
Yeah, that is a special. I haven't been to an IHOP in years. I kind of miss it.
Shaq Built said, ODS was my first event with Yoshi, and I skipped college and took my Miata.
Yep. I think that the September events are particularly like beginning of a semester, and people be like, do I want to do the drift event? But you know, I got classes starting.
Well, it's funny too, because I know where you're talking about, because like I said, I lived in the area. I never went to it ever. I knew it was there. I had friends that went all the time. Oh yeah, I'll make it. Oh yeah, I'll make it. Never made it. And now we have Dominion is just like 45 minutes south of me. It's not the same place, of course it is, but it's not. And we actually had Rave at the Raceway in here. We had Thomas in here a little bit ago. He works for Dominion, the new one, the current one. And Shaq Built said this was a Thursday event.
Yep. Yeah, there was. I forget why we did a Thursday. I don't remember why it was there. There were certain ones where it's like I couldn't get a date, and so like it had to be on the middle of a week or something like that. But
right.
This was like, yeah. Oh man, I find the picture, post it up if you can.
Yeah, sure.
But like I was name dropping my buddy Donnie Misawa. Like he came from the University of Maryland. Like he drove down from college to come to the event. He had like a turbo KA that absolutely shattered the transmission. And so I watched this dude change the transmission in the gravel in the parking lot and finish out the day, and then drove home on it. Like, you know, borrowing tools from people, and that's how it was.
I have a very, very similar story with, I refer to him as my brew boo, Brian Brewington. He's got a Fox body, an old Fox body, and he calls it the dirty Fox body. And just dropped the transmission. We were at like a 2-day event, and he was having issues, dropped it, fixed it, shoved it back in, drifted for the rest of the weekend. And I think that's the thing that I like the most, and I say it all the time. I'm sure everybody's tired of hearing it. The inclusiveness in most of the spaces. We're going to be honest, not all the spaces, but most of the spaces. You know, you'll see somebody looking for an axle, and so would be like, oh yeah, go in my trailer, the bright blue toolbox in the left-hand corner, sitting on top or underneath. And you're just like, okay, you know, because everybody's just like, sure, got you, bro, you know, and then you just keep going about your weekend. It's great. I love it.
I think that's what drew me to drifting over regular road racing, because like, I don't want to be against other people. I don't like being for a time. I just kind of like, I think when I go back stateside, I'm going to stop pushing for like cage tandem, like competition type things. So like rivals, because I find I have the most fun driving with other people. It doesn't have to be super
That's really common.
Tandems.
Yeah.
And, well, but that didn't used to be the way. Like,
yeah,
I would say
that's fair.
About 10 years ago, you know, you couldn't tandem unless you had a cage. And so there was like tandem trains were allowed only for the people who had the bucket seats and the 5-point harnesses and stuff like that. And so it became like, kind of like a cool kids club.
Yeah.
where you strove to be one of those because those got the most exposure and the pictures and stuff. And especially at Summit, where like hot lapping wasn't a thing back in the day, it kind of pushed people more towards the competition side of things. And then
Sure.
it's waned where competition drifting is kind of in a lull right now. And so like before I came here, I built the LS KHG 46, and like I didn't want to, but it was made for that type of competition.
Yeah.
And the more you push those cars, the more they break. And like that's why the JZX right now, the turbo blue, I put back on a stock turbo when other people would be like, no, you got to upgrade it, and you can make it's a JZ, you can make a crap ton of horsepower out of it.
Sure.
But I think that camaraderie you were talking about, where if you break something, someone will come help you fix it. Like that to me is more kind of like the final bout kind of thing, where it's like you're kind of together and it's about everybody else. Like I want you on the track with me, as opposed to your competition. I won't show you what's under my hood.
Yeah. Well, and we talk about that a lot in the lives when it comes to like drag is so competitive that a lot of people stop doing it because like it became not fun essentially. And I think we're seeing a lot of people want to go back to the more grassroots style of doing things. They really just Pop's Garage. Andy Hamke was in here earlier. He will tell you all day long he doesn't really want to cage his car. He likes the fact that it's still a street car, and he just wants to go drive with the homies, is how he likes to put it. If that's not this particular track because he has a cage, he'll just go to another one. So it's kind of a catch-22 because we understand why the cage is important because of safety, right? But then it's like at the same time, some people are just there to have such fun with it. Like they don't care. I like the fact that the blend of the safety, because obviously to me the safety is important, but at the same time I get it. That's actually why I think Final Bout has done so well, is because you get the competition. Like the competition is team competition. It's not just that whole one-on-one style. And then when the day is done, the competition's over. And then the next day it's just a free for all and everybody just goes to have fun. They don't care what they're in. They don't care what they're driving. They just go have fun. So I definitely see the appeal in that one. I think a lot of people just don't care about the competition part anymore from some of the spaces that I've been in, because as much as there should be a rule book, there's no rule book. There's guidelines that everybody kind of sticks to, but not exactly. And like you said, like on the Japan side, they're focused a little bit more on speed, but over here, they want you to hit a box every time. And then they want your closeness and proximity. And then if you straighten in a certain position, you might lose a point, or that might be why you don't like get to go on to the next round, or you got the one more time. And then it's just like, what are we doing?
Yeah. The thing is, I do like that though. And I think some people like I'm different from other people because I'm a nerd. Like I'm data driven. So like before I came here, I was working with Kevin Wells for their telemetry system, like the box you have to plug into. They don't FDUS, despite what people think, they don't have a huge ton of money to put in R&D and stuff. So we were working with the drone type telemetry. The problem is the drones require line of sight, where you can't always guarantee that when a car is physically on track. But what I like is data. I want numbers, and so there's the DOS system in Japan, which is mainly GPS speed based, and that's where you get like for D1 when it comes to qualifying, people will drive to the box and then they will drive differently in competition. In which hand I kind of like that because you have to learn what it's looking for and drive for that. But I don't like it because when you finally get into competition, someone's not driving the same way. But we do have the technology now for like how close are the cars together. You find a defined center point and you say how close are these 2 points together? How close are you from the zones and the walls? And it takes some of the subjectivity away from like, well, what was that one tire off the zone or whatever? Like you can definitively tell. But I will say, like I've spent like months staring at books for physics, and surprisingly, what angle a car is at during drift is not a agreed upon number. because a car is this sideways, let's say 45 degrees compared to this one, but you're on a corner which turns, are you actually at less? And then there's also like, what is your front wheels at? There's an Australian drift box that I think it determined angle based off of your tie rod position and its stroke. So it was actually like a sensor that was on one side of your wheel. Well, the problem is, there's Ackerman, so left to right, that's going to be different immediately. But also, like Chelsea Enofa proved that if your front tires are scrubbing, you can actually probably have your front tires straight and still be pulling angle.
That's fair.
And just like, to me, that those types of problems are very interesting. And I would love to, like, if someone would fund me an unlimited amount of money, I would, kind of eke into that. Like, for instance, I was, I'm going to name drop. I had an interview with T-Pain. He wanted to pull me on as being a game designer for him. But I wasn't willing to give up living in Japan. But he was like, yeah, I'll fund the facility for you to do the math calculations on high angle tire friction, because the most academics don't go beyond, I think, like 8 or 10 degrees of slip angle, which drifting lives, closer to 45. And like, just the thought of having the machinery to be able to test those things out, like, I would love the opportunity to get into that one day.
Sure. Well, got some years left on you, I'm sure. Still time. Cody said cageless tandems on Shenandoah for final bout is the best. And then he asked you, have you messed with the Wally data?
The Wally system. So I have not been able to get my hands on one. They don't ship to Japan last I checked. But also the system. Am I thinking of something else? Because I think, isn't Wally is it from Europe?
Cody, we have questions.
Yeah, we talked about it a while ago, because there's a couple. There's an Australian brand, there's a Japanese brand, and there's one from somewhere in Europe. And so, like, based on like their marketing, you can pretty easily tell. So Wally was the one where
Australian.
You had to put the way stations throughout the course, and so
he said it's the Australian one.
I think it's the one with the way stations. Like they're like what they use for surveying, like construction sites and stuff. And so you set it up throughout the course, and then based on where that box is, it talks to it, and you can see, like, someone physically walks through the course and lays out where the zones are. And so when that box gets within a certain proximity, it'll read it. In theory, it looks amazing. It also looks like it's an absolute pain to set up.
He said it's the one clutch kickers are using.
Yeah. Oh, no, it's a different one then. Oh, no, maybe that is the same one. Yeah, I'm not sure, but I've looked into a lot of them, and the technology is close. I think it tends to be like a cost prohibitive thing, and in some cases, like, it's a service where you pay the people to come out and set it on your track and then do it that way. In which case they want way too much money and all that sorts of stuff.
Sure.
But the moment you put like data into drifting, people get very mad. They want to be upset over like a negative outcome. I think, where there is this subjectivity of like, I don't trust the box for that because my own eyes saw this. When really, like, even in FD, it's all up to like camera angle. Like, the camera doesn't show that you're a wheel off, so we're not going to deduct that 1 point or whatever.
He said, pretty sure FD is using it for qualifying and pros this year. Yeah, they made some changes this year for FD stateside. For the pro versus pro spec is different this year.
Yeah, well, I'm a nerd and I like reading the rule book, so I've already read over it. It'll be interesting to see, because they haven't really released all of the information on how they're going to be doing the telemetry.
That's fair.
I think there was, they cited that the pro spec guys liked the way it was, and I think the pro guys wanted back the old way. But also, I think it's a logistics issue where, because when I was in FD US, it was like 70 cars or whatever in the field, and man, the hurry up and wait. You're sitting there on grid and you want to go, and like there's something about like I would watch Dan and James just sit there cold. Like you're watching the live stream, and then it's like your turn, go, and then 4 hours later, here's your second run, go. Like I don't think they want to go back to that. That's also part of the reason why they limit the field to only so many cars.
Sure.
But you got the also what's this, Ryan Sage. He's really big on keeping the show running. He doesn't like. He's a very big proponent against dead air. And it shows.
Well, and it's really easy to have in that type of situation. That's actually why I don't like competitions. I don't have the attention span for them typically, especially if I have an easier time if it's teams versus if it's just like that whole one-on-one situation. And especially if you have like more than like 20 cars, which I've seen, you're just like, oh my God, is it over yet? Are we done yet? Can we go back to the whole freestyle thing? That'd be great.
Yeah. And then if someone wrecks and now you got to get the wreckers out of there. And then depending upon the facility, some facilities, because they're using Atlanta, for instance, they're using the tracks, forklifts and stuff to get the cars out. And some facilities are slower to respond than others, and there's that much more dead air. And so like it's kind of cool to see crashes and stuff like that, but also to have to wait for EMS and the fire truck and all sorts of stuff. Like the show, like the FD show can go from 2 hours to like 6 very easily. And I know at Atlanta there's a hard cutoff. Like they have to finish before a particular time.
Yeah. Well, we have a lot of tracks like that, like, the whole noise ordinance thing, like you have to be done by 10 or you have to be done by 11. And then we have, on Summit Point, if we're there on Sunday, I think we have to shut down for lunch at noon because of the noise ordinance for Sundays.
It's a church. That's specifically for Shenandoah. Like if you go to the end of P Loop and you actually look on the other side of the track, there's literally a church right there.
Yep. So every track's different, of course, but yeah, that's pretty common for the most part. I don't know. It's been an interesting experience for me so far. I'm obviously still learning, and I don't drive, so I'm always learning something new from like everybody that I talk to. There's always something different. That's why I was curious to talk to you with the Japan experience, because so far, for the most part, most of the people I've talked to, they may have been to Japan, but they haven't really like experienced it over and over again, or they haven't necessarily lived there to have like the experience kind of full time. So it's been interesting to kind of get your perspective on, what you've experienced over there versus here. And then any fun stories from over here? Like, you've got people who have been in the comments of like, remembering IHOP and photos. And I think APN Racing said that they still want one of the blue Slideways shirts.
Ooh, I need to do another run of those. Man, that was a very particular choice of blue. Stories. There's like, if people will refresh my memories, there's a ton of stuff.
Well, what would be like your fondest memory of drifting? Like something that's just like absolutely etched in your brain?
Drifting wise, I would say at the end of the ODS days when I stopped caring. Like running these types of programs, and even like I didn't actually run Drift Nirvana, but I was, an outspoken, I wrote the rule books and did the morning briefings and stuff like that. Like it's stressful, and so a lot of my people ask that, how long you've been drifting? It's like, what, 23 years now. But the vast majority of that time I was sacrificing. I wouldn't drift because sometimes I was building a Megasport for months at a time. But like running the drift day, I ran it on such a shoestring budget, and you cannot rely on people to volunteer to help you because they'll flake.
Sure.
Even with money, it wasn't enough to always get. Anyway, but towards the end of the ODS days, when I just knew things were shutting down, the infield had a bunch of gravel, like the kitty litter type stuff.
Okay.
And so when people went off course, they'd kick it up, and like it really messed up the cars. Like you would kick it places and stuff. And at the end, I didn't care. I was out there with a broom. A car would go by, and I would just broom up whatever. And then other people would come by, and we'd be like sitting in the back of a Hatch S13 all with brooms, and we would just, that type of stuff. Where like I think there are pictures of me just literally standing in the middle of a live course with cars going around me. And like the last days, I think we went until after dark,
Okay.
which we weren't allowed to do. And then to turn on the lights, they said cost like $5,000 just to turn them on.
It's a ridiculous amount of money.
Yeah, and so it was headlights on, and we just went, and I was brooming. It was dark. There were headlights, and people were doing burnouts places. And like to me, that the send off for ODS is probably my fondest memory.
Okay.
Second is probably FD Seattle podium.
Okay.
When Dan won that one, where it was like fighting cars, things weren't working right, and like everything kind of clicked and went together. And then it's probably my favorite FD facility, and like there's showers, and I think we broke into it after hours. Or don't tell anybody I said that.
We know nothing. It's not live or anything.
Yeah, that was a good experience. Seattle is by far my favorite track facility and area.
Okay. Cody would like to know if you have any plans to come visit soon.
So the short answer is nothing solid. There was talk of me going back in March, but that got nixed. So it's up to, so my work trips back are not up to me. It's up to whatever's necessary at the time. As far as personal trips back, I don't have anything planned. There are certain ones that is like use or lose, where they kind of like it's called rat travel, and so I have to use that within a certain time span. But I think my last one expired without me knowing. So that next one would probably be next year. But you never know. Like I sometimes I think I went to a Jefferson Day, and I didn't tell anybody I was coming. I just showed up. So maybe I'll do that. Although I generally tell Cody if I'm coming back.
Yeah, he said misses when Yoshi ran drivers meetings. What was your go-to in driver meetings? Did they end with "Don't die"?
I mean, I think that was a lot of it was you read the same things over and over again, and so you know I would do the dad thing where I forget what my trope was. There was something I would say every single time, and people would roll their eyes, and I would get such a kick out of it just because I said the same thing like the same tone, the same like
Sure.
But my general tone was like I have to read these things because people made the rules for a reason. Like for instance, like having to have hoods on. It was because someone came off track and their turbo blew oil all over their window as they were trying to finish the track, and as a result, they like slammed into a wall. That was it.
APN Racing said free hugs.
Yeah, I had stickers on most of my cars for a long time. It said free hugs in the back. I got pulled over one time out in public, and I got the usual. Do you know why I pulled you over? And it's like, you wanted a hug, and I think I got a little bit of a smirk out of him, but I still got a ticket.
Well, so hugging is kind of like my thing. I warn people that I'm a hugger before I meet them. Like if there's somebody I haven't met in person, or when I'm at the track, I'm like, I'm a hugger. It's okay if you're not. I respect non-huggers, but I'm usually going in for the hug about the time that I have the conversation. So they're either locked in or they're not sure.
Yeah, for me, I am too. I think a lot of people, like you see the morning meetings and like, at like DOD, for instance, you're basically shouting at 300 people and they all, you need to command and they need to listen for the key things. And it's also like a respect thing. But I try to be very approachable. And so there are lots of people that were like, I didn't want to bother you, like blah, blah, blah. And like, I guess that kind of air sometimes to some people, it makes me seem really unapproachable when other people that know me are like, they're sending me unsolicited pictures, like you have to know when to put on like the hard ass hat. But also like 99% of the time I'm like a happy puppy.
Yeah, no, I got you. I understand all of that because some of the media meetings that I have been in, there are some that have really stood out to me because they're just, I love when they're just direct and transparent and you have all of the information. And I've been in some where they're just like, yeah, that corner's okay. And then there's a box over there and don't die. Oh, okay. All right. Sure. I'll give that a shot,
Yeah. And the problem is like, I'm a stickler for the safety, and like, I would write the rule books and I would hope that everybody read them, but that they won't. So I have to go over it. And it got to the point where I had a checklist. It was like, this one, like, your strap has to be on your helmet before you go out. Windows down when you go out, which, by the way, Japan is windows up when you're drifting.
Interesting.
Yeah, I didn't like that. I still don't like it. And windows up and long sleeve shirts, which when it's like 90 plus degrees outside in the summer and my window's up and I have long sleeve shirts on, it is terrible.
I mean, I'm used to long sleeve shirts because that's part of my media here. Is you're supposed to have long shirt, long pants, like even in the summer. Like you could probably squeak by with a t-shirt in some places, but very often they're going to tell you they want you to have long sleeves on because there's flying debris.
Well, I would have my heat on in my car because it would overheat. So windows up, long sleeve shirts, heat full blast.
Cody said, "Why windows up in Japan?" Because I understand why we have windows down or plexi.
Yeah, I asked, and most of them couldn't give me a good answer. I think it's so that stuff doesn't fly into the car.
Fair.
But like, if it was
schools
raining,
of thoughts.
Yeah, I mean, I talked to the EMTs at Summit, and they will tell you the most hilarious, gory stories, because there was some dude in a Porsche that rolled, and his hand was doing that thing out the window, and it severed. So I can understand having the windows up. The long sleeve shirts is for fire protection. It's supposed to be a long sleeve cotton shirt, but they never check.
Yeah. Well, and that's interesting too, because I actually learned that when I talked to TJ at OG Racing. We were talking about fire suits because I needed one, and of course I went the route most media people do, and I just got the race quip or whatever, because it's cheap and it gets the job done, and there's only one track where I'm required, and that's Summit Point on tandem. It's the only time I'm required to wear one, and for me it's like, I don't want to put an investment into something that I only have to wear in one space. Should I probably wear it most of the time anyway? Probably. And I'm like, all right, well, now I have it. But when I was talking to him, never really thought about what I had on underneath of what my clothes are, let alone what my clothes are, because I normally have leggings on for ease of use because I'm running around the track all day. I don't normally have jeans on or cotton sweatpants or anything along those lines. And he's like, even what you have under your fire suit should be cotton. It shouldn't be any synthetic fibers at all. And I'm like, never even thought about that.
Yeah, Nomex underwear. So like the cheap ones are single layer. And so technically I believe FD requires triple layer. So even if you're getting the cheapest race suit, those come single layer, and you're supposed to wear Nomex underwear underneath them.
Okay.
But also in the moment you purchase that racing suit, it's a countdown till it expires, and Summit checks it. Other places do check it. In Japan, they don't check it. Like I asked the first event I went to, I asked the guy, "Where's tech inspection?" And he goes, "What?" And I'm like, "Well, you have this whole sheet that says like the things that I'm ready to be inspected." And he goes, "We don't do that." And I'm like, "Well, what do you do?" And he goes, "Just don't bring a crap car." Like they don't even have age restrictions. Like there was this car absolutely on my tail for one session. I think he was 11. And I talked to the guy's dad, and he goes, "Yeah, he just sleeps between rounds." So he would the kid is in a booster seat driving this car, no race suit. He's got like an open face, like motorcycle-ish type helmet, sleeping the hour till his next session. Like, okay, like my son's 9. I can't imagine putting him into a car without like proper safety equipment, let alone like a booster seat and a driver's seat.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I think that's. I mean, we even have some of that here. Like I refer to it as the Wild West. There are some tracks where it's like the Wild West. Like there are things you can get away with, and there's some tracks because there's media things that I can get away with, and I know there's some sketchiness to it, but I know that going into it, and I think that's it sometimes is some people are like, I know what the risks are. I'm willing to take the risk. You could lose a hand, you could lose a finger, you could use your life, whatever it is, lose some skin. And that's like what you said, like about the hand going up. I see that so often. Well, sometimes my arm's out a window at some tracks with a camera. Now, I have different ways of doing it now where, I can use like a selfie stick and kind of like an extra setup so I can hang on to the selfie stick so it's not going to go like flailing one way or the other, so that I don't have to have like my arm or my hand here, because I know that that's a risk, but I'm also aware of it too. So it's like if I fuck up and I fuck around, I found out, So
yeah. It's the problem is that there's people who take advantage of that are either ignorant or malicious, where they're willfully breaking the rules, and then that's how you get even stricter rules, because most of us have common sense, some people don't, and you have to kind of make the rules for the lowest common denominator of the person who's like, I don't care. Like when I would instruct people and I would see them with open-faced helmets, and I'm like, well, you've got a stock seatbelt and you have this deep dish wheel with no airbag, you're going to bite that steering wheel and you're going to lose teeth.
It was interesting that you say that about like the open face helmet, because I never really thought too much about it, because I've always had a closed face helmet. Even when I rode motorcycles, I never had like, just like the fragment of a helmet, the Scully, or, anything along, or 8-ball, I guess. I always had a full face helmet and I never really thought too much of it. And I understand why people like the open face helmet. I never liked it because I didn't like taking on all that air. But who was I talking? I was talking to one of the drivers, one of the drifters one time, and they're like, I don't even like having something like that, for my passengers. He said, because, they're potentially likely, it's potential that they could get harmed. He's like, it's unlikely because I'm a decent driver, but there is still the potential for that. And he said a full face helmet's just going to protect them a lot more than the open face. I was like, I never really thought about it that way, but that's fair.
Yep. And even then, motorcycle helmets, the difference between a motorcycle helmet and a race car helmet is the race car helmet is designed to take multiple impacts, while the motorcycle is designed to take one big one. And the motorcycle helmet is not fire rated.
Yeah, I was going to say the flame retardancy is the other really big one.
Yep.
And so I didn't learn that. I didn't learn that until I got into it a little bit more. And I think that's it too, is I think it depends on how you're exposed to this stuff too. Because I have an unpopular opinion on legal pits for some people where it comes to like the takeover style of things, because takeover style, we need to come off the streets and go somewhere that's a little bit more sanctioned. And people don't like even the legal pit, but I'm like, if we can get them off the street, and if somebody was smart enough to realize that they could grab new drifters from it, that works in our favor. But everybody wants to be in a big uproar about it, and then they're angry about the space that they use is then used by these people and they don't respect it. Well, yeah, because nobody's taught them to yet, because they got exposed to it on the street somewhere by their other dumb friend. And I hate to say it that way, but that's how I got into cars, was dumb friends. You know what I mean? Well, I just didn't have a video. I didn't have a video camera rolling at me when it happened. That's the difference now.
Well, and I'd probably be in jail if it wasn't for the fact that wasn't possible back then. Like I would go to industrial areas and do that stuff. I think that I tell my kids, or my wife tells my kids, don't yuck someone's yum. As long as you are not hurting someone else, like why you got to be against it?
Well, where I was partially going with that was how I got to drifting was because I came across takeovers first. Then from the takeovers, I came across legal pits, and then from the legal pits, I came across drifting. And I think there's always spaces like that. So the unfortunate side effect, I think, of like the takeovers and sometimes even the legal pits is that safety that we talk about with drifting isn't always built into it, even though it should be, even in the legal pit. Because the takeover style of doing things is meant for entertainment and just wild chaos, which is why everybody on social media loves it and why it'll never go away, is because people feed it. But the more we can pull people over to the side of like, hey, there's a safer way to do things, and you can actually have a skill, we're getting that through the legal pits. We're not getting that when they're in a parking lot or taking over an intersection or damaging property and, you know, all the things that go along with it. And that's what I mean by, I think sometimes it depends on how you come by the information, whether you ever get to the point of being able to realize that there's a safer way to do it or a more proper way to do it or a better way to drive, you know. So I don't know. It's kind of a catch-22, and everybody seems to want to pick a side of the fence and not the middle ground on that one.
Yeah, I mean, I have kind of multiple hats when it comes to that. Like, number one, I'm a parent, so like people getting hurt, like, you know, you've seen the videos where someone gets run over and stuff. So like, that to me is a knee jerk. Like, I don't really particularly like that. But also, like you said, as someone who has run the motorsports type programs, it's how do you get people to come and do drifting? Because you will, the way Jens Scott originally saw it is he thought that you know, the youth do this particular thing and that they will graduate into the other motorsports in the facility. That has happened to an extent, but not in the numbers that I think he wanted. But it also is a good kind of business strategy of like, hey, here's someone doing something similar. How do we go about you know, pulling people into what we do? Or even like, I mean, I don't think legal pits would ever be done at Summit. They're so like safety minded. But it is a business opportunity too. So like I can see that as kind of like a powder keg of possibilities of what could be. And then also from
go ahead, finish.
But me as a driver, I look at that and I go, like, comparatively skill wise, like, yeah, I can do donuts. That's actually really easy. Like, I don't understand this. Like, so, you know, me being the old man going like, well, this is different and confusing to me, therefore I don't like it, is definitely, it is a knee-jerk reaction for me, I have to admit.
Well, I think the hard part with it just in general is there's a toxic culture that runs in it, like kind of underlying it, that fuels it. So it's changing that dynamic that is the hard part. And I don't know if it's a thing that can ever truly be overcome unless something else takes its place. So it's just, I don't know, it's really tough because, like I said, growing up and some of the things that I did and I was exposed to, but there was no video camera to film it for proof of it. There were a lot of dumb things that happened. It's just nobody knew they happened unless you were there, which is somewhat of what the whole takeover culture is. But what they've done is, I always liken it to when, you know, you go to like a carnival or a fair and they have that big metal ball that a motorcycle runs around in circles in. To me, that's what it is. It's meant to be entertainment. The problem is you add the toxic, volatile culture of it as well, too, and you just have a powder keg. It's an absolute powder keg, which is where the legal pit can at least take it off the street if people are willing to utilize it, but you have to give them a reason to want to use it.
Yeah, I mean, I think legitimizing it is a little bit against its origins, for sure. Like, I can see a lot of resistance. It makes sense to me.
Yeah. So it just kind of boils down to like, how can you manage it? It's like anything that wants to be for or against, you know, it's like they're always just going to push against. So I definitely, I would like to see a little bit more of that change a little bit to where maybe there's some more education that can be like tossed into the ring for it. So I'll be curious to see what happens in the next couple of years, because there are some areas where it's really bad in public and they haven't figured out how to control it or get it under control. And the problem with that is that when they go out to try to take control of it is when it gets big and ugly. So, all right, well, that's enough on that topic. I've already kept you for about 2 hours out of your morning because right now it's Saturday for you.
Yeah, I need to probably start prepping lunch for the kids.
I was going to say, and make sure you tell your wife thank you, because I know she packaged them all up and like ran off to the mall or something.
Yeah, will do. She's been amazing.
All right. Well, let's see. Oh, Justin. Oh, I thought he had a question. Justin Rose is one of my favorite party car guys. Him and River. Is that car put together yet, sir? See if he's still in there. He's been working on taking engine out of one, and I refer to his party car as the little IS that could, because he has a Lexus IS that none of us know how the doors open. It's held together with dreams and zip ties, you know.
And those are sometimes the best cars you can ever have.
Oh, 100%, 100%. Are you done with it, Justin? Like, are we going to see you like sometime soon? Like, is there an event that you're going to tell me where you're at so that I can come annoy you? Hi, River. Juliana said, see ya, Yoshi.
Yeah, I'll let you know next time I'm in town, for sure. I haven't seen her drive in a number of years, and I'm interested to see. And then she's doing a motor upgrade right now too, so she's leveling up.
They're always doing something between her car and Chris's car. I'm like, every time I talk to them, like, can we do something that's going to keep you guys moving?
Well, she resisted the motor upgrade for a long time because of the reliability. So I like kudos. She's like making choice upgrades.
All right. Justin said not entirely, but when it's warm, he'll be outside somewhere and he'll let me know. All right. Good deal. And then Juliana, you guys are all signed up for Hyperfest. Yes, no, maybe so. That was the whole thing today was, you know, everybody signing up for that. Yeah, and Shaq Built said keeping the cars running is the goal. Always something going on for sure.
Yep. Well, it's to finish first you must finish.
Fair enough.
You gotta get that project car running, and I've been guilty of that, of having a car down for like years.
Yeah, I feel like that's a car guy thing though, because I think it depends on what's down. And it's like you know the process of like all the things that need to happen, and you're just not mentally prepared yet.
Yeah, I used to be like that. Living here, I cannot. Like I'm in a parking spot, so I can't have a garage. I can't leave a car sitting for a long period of time. And
yeah,
so,
that's fair.
I used to always have that minimum one car on permanent jack stands, and it's a different way of living for sure. It's less stressful, but I also do kind of miss.
It feels weird.
Apart. Yeah.
Yeah, it feels weird. It doesn't feel like the norm. Cody, are you actually driving for this Hyperfest? And Juliana, I talked to Maddie last night, so I figured all of you were probably signed up. I debated on camping, but I'm gonna support Travis Snyder, so Black Betty, and I'm gonna support Brandon, Jenny the Boat. I'm gonna support them for some media, so I'm gonna pit with Travis. So I'll be there, but I've decided I'm not like going heavy on media this year. Like I'm gonna do what I say I'm gonna do, and then y'all are gonna see me when the DJ starts, and there better be alcohol. That's all I gotta say. Cody says I won't be driving, but I'm gonna help Kenny. Okay, all right, good deal. I told Kenny and Fast Eddie that I would like shotgun at some point in time. Him and JB.
Yeah, Cody needs to finish his car.
I thought Cody's car was finished.
Is it the VH swap?
I thought so. Cody, are you done? Because I thought you're supposed to be ready for Summit Point season opener. I have it on my calendar for you. See what he says.
Yeah, it's hard for me to keep up being in Japan. Like everything happens, East Coast, like 12 hours, 14 hours away from me.
Sure.
So it's hard to keep up with everybody back home.
Yeah, he said, yeah, it's ready. That's what I thought.
Oh, okay. I need to see video of that.
River. River said, catch me and Dawn at emo night again. That was so much fun. The only drawback that I had with when we were dancing was with the way they had it set up. There was just enough of like an incline where we were standing and trying to dance. Like if you weren't careful, you were going backwards, and then you add alcohol to that combination as well. And you're like, is it me? No, it's the ground. Wait, is it me yet? But we had a blast. Juliana, Maddie, Matt went with us. I remember there was another gentleman. I can't think of his name. He's tall. The hell was his name? Juliana knows. I don't remember his name. But Hyperfest was fun because I didn't sign up for media last year. I did sign up for media this year, to support the guys. And I can shoot there and grab media without having the media access because it's so Corbin. Okay, there we go. And I'm walking to go check out where like the fence line is, and because I can tell like the cars are coming down on Patriot from like a certain way, and all of a sudden I hear Dawn. That's Dawn Brown. And I'm like, my people are here. And like, I'm trying to figure out who it is. And it's Maddie and Juliana and Chris and like the whole group. I'm like, holy shit, you guys are here? I just happened to literally walk into their camp without knowing that I walked into their camp. And then I'm standing there and I'm like, I am too short for this adventure. Like I was too short to get over the fence. So, and then I couldn't hold the camera steady because I'm trying to hold it up over the fence. So about 15 minutes into standing there talking to them, I'm now standing on their Yeti cooler so that I can try to like get video as the cars are going by.
But I bet you go to almost any drift event and you will know someone there.
Probably. Probably. Especially considering there's so many tracks within such a close proximity to me that usually like there's something within 45 minutes to an hour and a half of me in like every direction. It's very interesting. And but that one was a lot of fun because I didn't expect some of the people that I ran into, which was really nice. And I was impressed with the music because I wasn't sure what to expect from like the actual like party side of everything. Did everybody come home?
So my daughter just peeked in.
Juliana said I can stand on your cooler anytime. I'll take you up on that. I'm thinking about bringing a step stool with me this time because I'll have the camper with me this time, so I can bring a few extra things. All right, well, we're gonna let Yoshi go because he's got family has come home and we've kept him for 2 hours. So I really appreciate your time. Thank you so much. And I'm gonna say goodnight to everybody because it's now 10:30 my side in the PM.
Yeah. Well, thank you. Thanks, everybody. Thanks for all the questions. I feel a lot of love, and it's amazing. It feels like I'm home.
That's awesome. I like that. All right. So I'm going to hit end live, and then you and I will be in the studio together.